When things go wrong as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must but do not ever quit. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk and clear the clouds of doubt.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk. I'm your moderator, Omar Dunlap. We have with us, as always, Brother Idris Tawfiq. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
And we have our wonderful studio audience. Assalamu alaikum. Today we're going to be discussing being ambassadors for Islam, whether we're doing da'wah or just interfaith relations. And without further ado, I'm going to let Brother Idris get right into his reflections, which is my favorite part of every show.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salam ala ashraf al-mursaleen Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Wa salamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most compassionate. All praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. Peace and blessings of Allah be upon His final messenger Muhammad, and may the peace and the blessings and the mercy of Allah be upon all of you who are watching this program today. My dear brothers and sisters, you honor us for joining us today, and our topic for today's program is so beautiful: ambassadors for Islam. We're all called as Muslims to be ambassadors. An ambassador represents his country abroad. And wherever he is, the people in the country where he is look at him and say, he is representing this country, Japan or Australia or South Africa. Well, more than ambassadors for Japan or Australia or South Africa, we are called to be ambassadors of Islam. And we're not representing a king or a president or a worldly government. We're representing the message of Allah Almighty, the creator of the heavens and the earth and everything in between. My thought is very simple today. You know, the messengers of Allah through the centuries were the greatest ambassadors of all, because they were called to bring His message to a people who knew nothing about Him. And each nation was sent a different messenger. And just a thought about Prophet Yunus, alayhi salam, Jonah. All the people watching know the story of Jonah and the fish, Jonah in the belly of the whale. Well, the story of Jonah is you know it, but I just remind you very quickly. Jonah is called to preach to the people of Nineveh and to tell them about the oneness of Allah. There is no God but Allah. And Nineveh was a city great beyond compare, and it was a very bad city. And every vice could be found in this city. And Yunus was called to go and preach to the people there. And he went along and started telling the people there is no God but the one God, Allah. And the people laughed at him and they rejected him. And Yunus, alayhi salam, left the city a broken man, really, because no one had accepted what he'd said. And you can almost imagine, he was a prophet, peace be upon him, but you can almost imagine him going off in a huff, saying, these people didn't listen to what I was telling them. And he goes and he goes in a boat and sails off in the sea. And when he's out at sea, a storm arises in the sea. And the godless sailors on the ship say, someone must have offended one of the sea gods. Let's draw lots, let's draw straws to see who has offended the sea gods. And Yunus, alayhi salam, draws the straw not once but 3 times. And they throw him overboard. And he falls down, down, down. And as he's falling, he's swallowed by a great fish. And he's taken into the stomach of this fish or this whale. And he goes down, down, down. And it's only, in this story is very beautiful. When he gets to the bottom of the ocean, he's surrounded with 3 layers of darkness. He's surrounded with the darkness of the deep. He's surrounded with the darkness of the stomach of the creature he's in. And he's surrounded with the darkness of despair. And it's only when he realizes that there is nothing he can do And he says to himself, and he cries out loud, La ilaha illa ant, there is no God but you. It's only then that things begin to change. And Allah then uses all things. First of all the very beautiful commentary on this story. All the fishes in the sea start to praise Allah. And the whale starts to praise Allah. And it goes up to the surface and vomits Yunus out onto the shore. And he's on the shore and all the acids are making his skin sore. And the sun is beating down on him, making him feel ill. And Allah causes a tree to grow up and cover him with its shade. And then eventually the story ends, he goes back to Nineveh to find that the people there had accepted the oneness of Allah. They'd become Muslim. The point of the story is this, that Allah Almighty, when we are called to send His message, when we're called to speak His message, Allah Almighty uses all things to work His purpose out. So in the story of Yunus, He uses the ship, the godless sailors on the ship. He uses the whale. He uses the plant that grows up. He uses the storm out at sea. Now anyone would think, looking at them, that these are all bad things. A storm, being swallowed by a creature, the sun beating down on his aching flesh. But Allah uses all that. And Allah returns, and who knows what had brought the people to Islam. Maybe they'd been thinking for many, many years about becoming Muslim. Maybe the storm had terrified them. Maybe it was the words of Yunus himself, alayhi salam. We don't know. But we do know, as ambassadors of Islam, called to speak the word of Allah to a world without God, a world flailing and thirsting for God, we can rest assured, we can be certain that whatever we do, Allah Almighty will use all the events, the people around us, the place we are, the person we are. He'll use all these things to make His message known. And all we have to do as Muslims, as people who submit, we simply have to submit to Allah's will and say to Him, here I am to perform your will. Take me, use me, and insha'Allah, with that intention, Allah will use all things for His message to be known, and we will be the best ambassadors Islam has ever seen. Insha'Allah.
Inshallah ta'ala. Very beautiful as always, Brother Idris. We'll be right back after this, just a very short message, and we'll take some questions from our audience, inshallah ta'ala. So don't go anywhere, the show's not over yet. We'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum.